After a solid day of testing, I'm going to tell you guys in this video what I think are the best and worst things about the Oculus Quest. Let's go! First things first, I have to say this is an absolutely incredible device. The fact that you have virtual reality in your pocket that works at a fundamental level. You've got the tracked hand controller, full depth hand tracking. You've got the full movement of your head control and looking around and everything. You can walk around your room. There's no cables. And it's got a computer in there that renders virtual worlds. That, to me, is absolutely bonkers. I've struggled to get my head around that, especially as someone that started off with an Oculus Rift DK1 and someone that had used the VR headsets in the arcades back in the 90s as a wee little boy. This is just insane, absolutely insane. So, got to get that out of the way before we talk about the best and worst things. So, the first best thing about this device, I would say, is the fact that it is a standalone device and the fact that it's not got any cables. You've got everything in the headset ready to go. You can walk around your room. You feel totally free. It's really, really liberating not having to plug it into a computer and then have this cable coming out and then doing all your stuff on your computer end to get things working and checking that stuff's compatible and what have you, which isn't a big problem if you're a PC gamer and you're used to it. But just from a sort of someone new to VR, just looking to get into it, and someone that just wants to have a VR headset in their sitting room and experience the joys of VR, that cableless, PC-less experience that this offers is insane and amazing. So that's pretty much the single most important and best aspect of this headset. The second really nice thing with this headset, compared to the PC Oculus Rift, the first Oculus Rift, not the DK1, not the DK2, but the CV1, the screen on this, you definitely notice the higher resolution on the panels with this. It's a lot harder to see the screen door. It's way more detailed. Just looking into the environments, you can just see a much better clarity than you can with the previous Oculus Rift, despite the fact that obviously the power of the computer in this, the Android computing unit in this, isn't anywhere near as high as a home computer. Despite that, you still get a massive advantage from the higher resolution screen. This screen in here as well is still OLED, so you get really nice contrast with the blacks and the colours. This is probably going to be one of the last OLED VR headsets, because I think most of the VR headset manufacturers are now moved in the direction of LCD, taking a compromise on the contrast for the benefit of frame rate and some other aspects of RGB stripe instead of non-RGB. Anyway, the point is, the actual screen resolution and quality is fantastic. So that's the second good point. Third biggest point of this, the out-of-the-box software that's on it and that's available, and just how good that is. Now, if you were coming from a Rift or PC VR, this isn't going to seem significant or meaningful because you've had access to these things before. But if you were coming to this device as someone that's never used VR before, and you're just like, well, what? This is just a consumer electronic device. What you actually get out of the box is pretty damn mind-blowing. Like the Rec Room, particularly, as a social environment with mini games in it, where you can play paintball. You've got like the frisbee games. You've just got all the activities that are in Rec Room. They're yet to add the quests and stuff to it, but you've got that social environment where you can just talk to people and they could, see what you're doing with your hands and everything, and just play games with people. That comes with the headset for free because Rec Room is free, but it's also just integrated into the headset out of the box at launch, or you can download it into the headset out of the box at launch, I should say. Also, stuff like VR chat. Again, you can access that on your PC. You could play that with the devices, but having it on this VR headset, with it doing all the hand tracking and be able to play all the VR chat games and everything, and the social aspect of it is really quite amazing. The actual in-game or in-headset screen it's got for this sort of video viewer which is like, it's like a virtual TV screen type situation, also works surprisingly well in this headset. Much better, I have to say. Watching videos in this on a virtual display is much better than I found with the Rift, partly due to that virtual screen being built into the Oculus Home in the game, but also the big screen software, which is another free download. Its cinemas and its setup really benefits again from the resolution of this screen, and that's again included free. It's a free download and it's freely in Oculus Home. So as a way to sort of watch videos on a giant screen, or watch films on a giant screen, or watch films with friends in VR on a giant screen and be social whilst doing those activities, this is a really great device. And if you've never used VR before, that's absolutely gonna blow your mind, and it's only gonna get better as more people get into VR and as more proper VR headsets come out on the market. So that, I'd say, are the three biggest positives of the device. It's an absolutely awesome standalone VR device. Now onto the more negative side of things. Let's be a miserable, critical British guy. The first really big negative for me is that I just can't get it that comfortable on my head. With this type of strap and with the additional weight that you've got on the front of the unit. Now don't get me wrong, it's not like having an elephant on your face, but it is slightly heavier than the original Oculus Rift, and the strap, for whatever reason, doesn't seem to offer the same sort of support as the original Oculus Rift. You end up sort of compromising between doing this on tighter here to sort of push it to your face more, and then maybe having this shorter, or trying to make this bit longer so it's down at the back of your head, cusping the back, which is normally more comfortable with this type of headset design. But ultimately, I just couldn't get it to feel as comfortable as other VR headsets that I've used. It becomes a noticeable burden on your head within about 25-30 minutes of using it. Which is really, really bad in my opinion, and it really dampens the use of the device. Now unfortunately, because of the way the head strap is integrated into it, there's not really much you could do about head strap. But what I did find, interestingly, was if you remove the facial interchange and you then put it on without the facial interchange on, because it then ends up being closer to your face, it's less further away, it actually ends up being more comfortable in a weird way. It does cause you to be able to see the edges of the screen, and obviously you can't wear it use it like this all the time. That'd be absurd. But what it leads me to believe is that the majority of my issues, at least with my weird big nose face and just the shape of my face, because this might be different for different people, but the majority of my issues might be coming from the default design of this phone. It's a lot more extended than the original Oculus Rift facial interface, and also the padding on it is a lot different from other VR interfaces. I think this could be the culprit, and I think making this thinner and changing the design of it so the headset's actually closer to your eyes slightly and the padding is different would allow for it to fit on my face better. Which actually leads to the second big negative. Or just second negative. I don't know why I'm saying big negative. It's not really that big a negative. But the second negative is that the horizontal sweet spot is really nice, and the screens look nice, and the clarity is much better than other VR headsets. But the vertical sweet spot is still really narrow on this headset. So you really do need to get the actual angle just right for the actual tilt of the headset on your face. If you've got it right and you've got it on nice and tight, which then makes it actually uncomfortable to wear, then you're fine, because once you've got the sweet spot, it stays there and there's no real problems. But that sweet spot is pretty small. It is quite hard to get it, and I've found it pretty much impossible to get that sweet spot to stay in the right place whilst having the headset be reasonably comfortable. So that is a big downside for me and this device. And the third and final negative that I would say with the headset is that the hand tracking, although it works. It works really well. You can play the games perfectly fine. You know, it's probably it's like thousands of times better than like a Wiimote, or you know, it's not bad. I'm trying to be clear here. The hand tracking isn't bad. It's more than usable. If you were going to play any of the single player games, you can play them pretty fine. If you've never used any of the VR headsets like the original Rift or the Vive, you're probably not going to even notice this or care about it. But if you were trying to play onwards properly online, for example, I mean this doesn't have onwards on it, but if you were trying to play something that was more competitive where you really wanted to be more accurate, the hand tracking I think just isn't perfect. It's not sharp enough. It's not as accurate. It's kind of the equivalent of if you had, say you've got like a gaming mouse. That's what the Vive and the original Oculus Rift controllers are like when playing, when trying to be accurate with the hand movements. These controllers, when it comes to the spatial tracking of them, I'd say is sort of like, it's not as bad as a gamepad would be if you were playing a gamepad, if you're using a gamepad to play an FPS compared to a mouse. But you know, it's kind of in between, the difference between a mouse and a gamepad in terms of the actual end fidelity. Now, part of that might be to do with software, and they might be able to improve it, and you know, but I'm going to hazard a guess that it's just a fact of the matter at this point of time, when you've got the tracking coming from onboard tracking and not external tracking, that you just can't get that degree of fidelity at this point in time with this technology, or at least out the box as it is now. To be clear again, it's not bad. It's really not bad. If you were to give this to someone that never used VR before, they'd be like, "Oh my god, this is insane! This is mind blowing! This is the best thing I've ever tried." So let me be clear about that. But if you're a snobby elite PC gamer that's used and you're more of a competitive gamer, then you will notice that hand tracking as it is right now at launch not being as good as the Rift or the Vive. Now, also to sort of go on to that tracking aspect of it, you do notice occasionally with the head tracking, sometimes you do seem to get the occasional hitch and jump. Now, I think this is mostly to do with early software on it in terms of the individual games. So when you're in Oculus, the Oculus Home, there's no problems at all. It's totally smooth. It looks absolutely fantastic. But if you're in a game that's more demanding and the developer's not really optimized it 100% yet, then you do notice a bit of the slowdown. That does tend to incur some of the stutter and jumps, which I think might be an issue for some people that are hypersensitive to motion sickness. And I think again that's a mixture of games not being optimized fully and the actual power of this not being that powerful, and so games really do have to be specially designed for this. But also, it's probably partially due to, again, just inside-out tracking. I don't think is as good as outside-in tracking, just because of the complexity of inside-out tracking. But for the most part, it's perfectly fine. And if you were to give it to someone that never used VR before, again, it would blow their mind and be absolutely amazing. I'm just trying to be like rounded here from the perspective of a crazy VR enthusiast that's used VR that's on a computer. You're talking a grand plus to have a system and a VR headset to run that kind of VR. And the fact of the matter that this is, if you buy the 64 gig version of the headset, this is like a $400 unit that gets you into VR and gets you, for the most part, something that is on a par with the Oculus Rift CV1. In terms of basic interaction and general gameplay, it is effectively getting you an Oculus Rift CV1 in your pocket. So, all said and done, to round off my first impressions of this device then, we've got to sneak one other thing in there that's annoying me about this. I'm saying more negatives than positives. That's just me. Hang on. Sip of the coffee here. Right, sorry for being. Don't focus on the negatives, but I guess you want to know about the negatives. Last negative. The bloody audio. Right. It's not acceptable. You need on-ear headphones. Come on. You can hear what the game's doing. There's a convenience to having it just stick on your head and hearing what's coming out there. but you're losing so much immersion by not having on-ear headphones, and it bleeds the sound out so much that if an app isn't designed well, other people can hear it coming through the microphone, the sound coming out. If you're so you end up annoying other people in VR. So there's going to be loads of people out there with echo sound unless people update the software to somehow cut it out. Okay, that's it. Okay, that was it for the negatives there. But the sound is just it's a little bit of an irritation for me. Despite my reservations for those aspects that I pointed out there, this is an absolutely incredible VR device. You really need to go to a store somewhere and try it out, or just order one on Amazon. Using my Amazon affiliate link, that's an option. And then, if you don't like it, you could return it. But for what it is and the price that it's sold at, it's mind-blowing. But you have to be realistic, and it just doesn't compare to what you get, obviously, on the PC solution. I'm not talking about the software side and the slower processing in this, because that's obvious that's not going to be as good. I'm talking about the hand tracking and some aspects of the headset comfort due to the extra weight and some of the design choices. But fantastic. I would definitely recommend this to people. At worst, you have to try it out as a consumer electronic device. It's really exciting, and this is the first gen of standalone VR, so it's only going to get better than this. What's going to happen if Oculus do a second one of these in a few years' time? What's going to happen if Sony or Nintendo or other companies start making stuff like this, moving into the future? It's super, super exciting. So hopefully this video has given you a rounded idea, a sort of honest first impressions perspective from someone that's actually bought the device and walked into walls with it a few times. We'll be doing more Oculus Quest content. There's some more games I want to try out on this. I really want to finish super hot on this because that's just really good fun. Also VR chat. I was on VR chat for like 4 hours with this, just walking around talking to people. It's just great. It's just really fun doing stupid stuff in VR. I guess that's part of the point of VR. But there you go, guys. Don't forget to click the subscribe button. Don't forget to like if you found this video useful. And I will see you in either a next live stream or the next video that we do. But until then, thanks for watching. And goodbye, everybody. That was not a smooth ending. That was supposed to look like I was putting you in VR, but it failed. Hang on. Goodbye, everybody. No. Hang on. Let's try again. Goodbye, everybody. We've got to come in at an angle. Right. I'm going to leave this in. I'm not even editing this. Goodbye, everybody. Oh yes, that'll do. 10 points, and I've taken it off again. Illusion broken. Right. That's it. Now, see you in the next video, guys. I fail at video making. I get it.